Alright guys, good morning. This is what we're going to be making today. It's going to be a little birdhouse. I think they really look cute. Some of these are larger than Christmas ornaments, or you could put it on a tree. But the smaller ones probably would be better suited for a tree. Something like this. And on some of them I do a little chatter work on the top, give it a little definition. Some of it really looks good while it's chattered. Gives it a little nice effect there. And then the spalted wood really, you know, everybody likes the look of that spalted wood. But they're fairly easy to make. Anyone with a mini lathe could make one. You start off, you just get a square block of wood and drill a hole in it. Okay, I found a piece of, it looks spalted elm. I'm not 100% sure, but it's just a gnarly piece of firewood. Mark it close to the center. Put it in a drill vise. You sure don't want to hold it with your hand. I've already marked the depth of it. It's about 1.5 inches deep on this piece. Okay, that's a 3/4 inch hole to fit our 3/4 inch mandrel. Simple enough. Once you drill a hole in it, you can put it on a mandrel. You can make one out of wood. I made this out of aluminum. But once you have a hole in it, you can push that right on the mandrel, and you can turn the face of it. You can do the whole outside profile. And I just drill a 3/4 inch hole. This is a 3/4 inch mandrel. If you want a smaller one, that's a 1/2 inch mandrel. But you can just put a piece of wood in a chuck and turn your little spindle where it'll fit right in there. Once you get the base of it made, then you put another block of wood on. And to get all this to fit together right, I use an open end wrench. This is the 3/4 inch open end wrench. And I'll show how to do this, but once you size it with that wrench, it's still a little bit large. So you can work it down just a little bit. You're not going to go too deep with this. It gets you real close. And then you can size the inside of the top where it fits nice and snug. Then you can go ahead and do the outside profile and part it off. We can go over to the lathe and we'll start making this base and go from there. Okay, what I'm going to use is that aluminum mandrel. Fits right in there. But you could put a block of wood and make your own mandrel out of a wood piece, which will work fine. But anyway, we got the aluminum. We'll put that in. We'll slide it right up on the. If it's a little loose, you know, you can put tape on it or whatever. This has been used quite a bit, so it's probably got smaller over time. But let's go ahead and tighten it up with a little bit of blue tape.
Push that weight back.
Just a few little rounds of tape on it. And then it'll fit on there good and snug. We're going to use the tailstock to support it too. Most of the time I wear a face shield, but it's hard to talk. I've got my safety glasses on. I make sure my lathe, everything is locked down good and tight. The speed is turned down. So we want to bring it up to speed. And what I've been using, it's really good for stuff like this. They're using a bowl gouge or a roughing gouge. I just use this is a 5/8 detail gouge. Michael Hoslick from Thompson Tools. Anyway, you can rough out with it, and it works good for this project. So anyway, we're going to rough it out here. Tell by that it was not round. Let's look at it. We'll see what the wood's looking like. Still got little flat spots. Still some nice grain pattern in the spalting. What we want to do too is true up the front edge of that. You could use a skew. Since it's not going to show, you could use a parting tool. This is a beading parting tool, which I like to use. You go right down to the mandrel on that. Just make sure it's angled toward the hole. You don't want it rocking when you put the top on it. A beading parting tool is just a piece of 3/8 square high-speed steel, but it really works good. You can use it as a skew. You can make your tenons with it. It's an excellent tool.
Did you make it?
No, this is a Robert Sorby. By the time you buy the steel, you can't even buy the steel as cheap as you can buy this. But I'll show you how the skew part of it, I like to raise the tool rest up a little. I'm going to use it as a skew. But you can get a very nice finish with that. Then I know we're going to use, remove a lot of this wood down here, so it's good for peeling cuts. You don't want to make this part up here too tall. They just don't look right when they're real tall. You want them kind of a rounded, shorter, squatty shape. And on the top portion, I round it down. You don't want it just straight, or you don't want to angle. A nice, like a wine glass goblet or something like that. So we'll taper this down, and then we'll start working on this other edge. or my tool rest. What you want to do is have the largest portion of that about right in that area. You can leave that without touching it. Just a nice, gentle curve. Then we can come on the other side. We don't have a lot of wood here to remove. And once you make a few of these, then you'll know exactly how you want to shape it. First few, you might not be as good looking. Practice, practice, practice. The main thing, let's get this really a nice globe shape up here. Continually raise the handle up. Roll the tool over as you're turning. Ride that bevel or kiss the bevel just lightly. Keep the bevel in contact with the wood. And people think this is an awful large tool for a small project, but there's no vibration. It's just easier to handle. There's just no vibration at all. Michael Hoslick was using this tool in a class, and I used it, and I told him, I said, that's like cheating. There's no vibration, it's like cheating. So anyway, you can get a 1/2 inch detail gouge or something that you're familiar with and know how to use. What I like to do is put a small finial right here on the bottom. You don't want it real long and gaudy, but just something to make it look like a nice finished piece. I'm looking at the profile of this. That's the main thing. If you can watch the profile, get it shaped just like you want it. Remove this wood. It's always better to have plenty of extra wood. You can remove it. You don't want this finial too large. You want it not to be the main focus, but just a little accent piece on it. And I like to do this bottom part in the curve. Just going straight down, you don't get the nice effect. Curves always look better. You notice I'm using my body to do that little small final cut. You can't hardly hold it smooth enough unless you support it with your body. Once we get it to this point, looks pretty good. Since we're going to make 100 of these, we need to be pretty proficient with it. So we can start off sanding that with probably, I don't know, 180. It's got a little ridge there, maybe some 180 should do it. Let's see. We'll turn our lathe speed down a little bit. That's the beauty of using the mandrel. There's nothing in your way. So get all this sanded out real good. A small piece like that, the details really matter more on a small piece than it does on a large one. Most time I have a little fan running and sucking a little dust out, but we can do one without doing it. Yeah, after you make a few of these, then you get in the muscle memory, and you can just, you won't get all those little grooves in there. My first one I've turned in a few days, but after a few of them, then you get good at it. Yeah, even a concert pianist has to practice, warm up. Yeah, I don't want to leave any grooves in there. This first round of sandpaper is where you need to spend the time to make sure there's no imperfections. I see a lot of people going to too fine a grit and it's real smooth, but then you have defects underneath the nice shiny spots. Let's look at that. Then you always want to go sand it, like Mark's lathe called it, random orbit. He says, we always use the random orbit. I said, what is that? I've got a random orbit sander. He said, this right here, that's random orbit. Because it's almost impossible to get all the radial scratches out unless you do this. And once you do that on the first grit, the rest will just be a lot quicker. And I only got about 220. I'm not trying to, I want it kind of a rustic look anyway. Now, I believe we can go to like a 220. I used a little sanding sponges. These are industrial type, but they work pretty good for stuff like this. That should be good. I think the birds will like it. Now we can take this off the mandrel. And Well, we can go ahead and put a finish on here. It's better, I think, to go ahead and stick it back on there. What I use is a Lacquer sand and sealer. I mix it to about 50%, thin it down about 50% thinner. And just let it.
Tell us more about that finish.
Yeah, it's just I buy Lacquer sand and sealer and finish in 5-gallon containers because it doesn't go bad. You don't have to worry about it freezing. It doesn't dry out like varnish or something like that, so it lasts a long time. Then once I get it a nice even coat on there, it looks pretty good. And you can use I've used beeswax and beeswax with mineral oil. But I've been using the Renaissance wax, which is a real high quality wax. The reason I like it, it's just quick and it makes a nice finish. You know, it's already dry right there. Just turn it on and you can buff it with just a paper towel. You sure don't want to use a piece of cloth on here. It can get wrapped around and do some damage. Wrap around your finger or something. But that's a nice finish, you know, quick and easy. So now we can take this off. We take our mandrel out.
Question.
Yes.
The mandrel that you made, you can make that on this type of lathe, correct?
Well,
you have a machinist lathe, but you could make it on here.
You can. It's just kind of difficult to get that Morse taper right. There is a jig I've made. Actually, it's right behind you, Larry. If you wanted to make your own Morse taper out of wood or aluminum, this get a, you know, it's just a live center. Get you a couple scraps of wood, glue one piece in there with hot glue, slide the other one up against it, and then that gives you a perfect little, you know if it's going to work or not. So on a wooden one, you can just sit there and keep turning it and adjust it to make sure it fits right. Lathe, I can set it up with the cross slide, and once I set it up, I can just turn them out all day long, same taper. Let's see, we need to find a piece of wood to make the top out of. So this is a piece of our baseball bat billets. These really work great for those. I've already made a tenon on this. It's just a baseball bat billet cut down to usable size here. Make sure it's up against the jaws good and tight. We won't be using a tailstock. We'll slide it out of the way. And what we want to do is just true this face up. Again, I'll use the beading parting tool. And you start off with the handle low, like a parting tool, and just continually bringing it up, pushing it forward. I need need to pull some light over here where I can see. And what I do to size this for the 3/4 inch on this, I'll just use the open end wrench. So once I get down pretty close, like I say, this wrench is a little bit larger because it's got to fit on a 3/4 inch nut or bolt. So you can come back and take just a little bit off of that. And once you get that sized, let's see, that'll fit right on there. That's pretty good. It's a little loose, but that's okay. We're going to make it a little deeper anyway. That's the initial size of it. We can go ahead and make it a little deeper. Okay, and what we need to do is mark this. So now we'll need to make a recess in there for the base to fit up in. Makes it a nice finished look. And what I've been using for that, I'll show you, it's just a round skew. It's a piece of 3/8 round high-speed steel. You can buy it online or probably buy a skew, but if you get a round piece of 3/8 high-speed steel, you just sharpen it like a skew. I kind of taper the bottom of it off. But it really works good when you're sizing these things, because when you get up into the side, there's no sharp point to get in your way, like a parting tool or a regular skew. So the round skew works good for this. What we want to do is just leave this the line there. We can check, see how it fits. Very nice fit. So what we're going to do is clean this area up out here that's got all the torn grain and that beading parting tool. And you can use a skew or you can use whatever you're comfortable with. This detail gouge works good for that too. And I try to taper it up into the opening there. A little high. Okay, that's a lot nicer clean cut finish right there. Make sure it looks good. Well, we need to open this up just a little bit. You want to get that cutting on the center height. See what that looks like. Still need just a little bit more to go in there. It's better to sneak up on it. You don't want to have a big gap there. There we go. It'll fit in there. Once it's glued, it'll be fine. Okay. This might be sticking out a little much. We want to make it as light as we can. So we can take a little of that off.
Rick, could you go over the round tool again
Yes.
and hold up against the wood over there and show it a little better?
Yeah, that it's really a nice little tool. On small work and recesses and things of that nature, it's user friendly because it's a negative rake scraper is basically what it is when you're using it in this position. Just flat on the rest, go right in. It's not grabby, and because it's a negative rake scraper, the way I'm using it.
Where'd you get the steel?
My brother works for Motion Industries, and they get a lot of samples and stuff like that. So, but you can get it online, you know, different places. Just Google high-speed steel, and there's tons of suppliers. But anyway, we need to figure out how large this needs to be for this particular birdhouse. And I think I need to, I'm not sure if it's hitting there or not, but to make sure, I'm going to go back in one more time. It's the lighting is. Yeah, it fits without any problem. So we want to overhang on the, but we don't want too much. And that's going to be just a little much. We probably want to remove, you know, 1/4 of an inch of wood or something like that. And we can do that with our detail gouge. We're going to go ahead and put a 45-degree chamfer on the edge. It looks so much better than just straight or trying to round it over. And let's see what it looks like. We can always make it smaller if we need to. That looks pretty good. I don't like them too small, so we'll say that's good. It's a matter of preference. Once you start making them, then you can decide for yourself. And I've found that it's better to do a very acute angle on this roof. You don't want a big, sharp, two-story looking peak on it. You want a kind of a little Chinese hat looking shape. notice I'm using my whole body to make that bend. I'm just pivoting off my left foot onto my right foot. That's looking pretty good, nice shape. I'd like to get a little curve in there if I can. Just doing them straight, they look kind of static. And another thing to give it some detail, I use a little chatter tool. Different woods have different effects on it, but I think this will look pretty good. And I just make a chatter tool. That's just a piece of 5/8 steel. I drilled a hole in it, drilled and tapped a little set screw. This is a tine off of a leaf rake. So you can just take an old leaf rake and cut them in about 1¼ inch, 1.5 inch strips. And one word of caution, don't try to put it in the tool handle and try to sharpen it. Very dangerous. It'll just sit there and vibrate, and you can blow up a wheel. So always take it out and just hold it, and don't hold it straight against the grinder. Tilt it and do it on the edge where it's not trying to flap and self-destruct there. But you can take this, and I just sharpen a little V, and that way I can come on this side and come back on this side. And I turn the speed up on my lathe, and you'll know why it's a chatter tool once we get going here. So, I'll just put it in at a low angle, right parallel with the wood. One word of caution, I went too far out and that ruined the edge. You can see I made a gear. That's all right. We have wood, we can, no problem. It's only wood. Let's just turn that off. Let's see what we got. Well, we might not make it on this one. This might have to go to a smaller birdhouse. Yeah, most of the time I will stop before I get to the edge. But I didn't that time. Got just a couple little nicks there. Let's get them out. Whatever that takes. But I try to chatter it before I get it down too thin, because you can't really do that. And I'm going to go ahead and recut that. And we'll just do it again. You got to look at that profile, make sure that's what you want. Yeah. Okay, we're going to chatter it again. Only I'm not going to ruin it this time. I hope. Okay. That looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and finish this top off. shatter it just a little bit more where I've turned. What I'd like to do is put a little finial on top of this. It just makes it look a lot better. You don't want it too big. And you can use a little skew to just get a nice groove cut in it. Kind of highlight it. Doesn't take but a second. And at this point we'll probably go ahead and put some finish on it before I get it too far. Same lacquer, sand and sealer. Well, that really brought out the grain in that. Really nice contrasting wood. And we'll put a little wax on it. Now we can go ahead and part it off. Make sure our little finial is shaped like we want it. That's a little large. I'll knock that down just a little bit. Couldn't reach it with that small skew. Let's see. So now, that's looking pretty good right there. You can see the nice grain pattern, the little chatter work in the top. Now you got to figure out where you want to drill the holes. But anyway, you just do these in little batches. A lot of times I'll make a bunch of these, a bunch of the tops, set them in a box, and I'll just match them up the best I can, or make another one. But let me show you how to drill the holes. First off, you need to look at the piece and see where your best options are for making the little entrance hole. I think maybe right here. And you want the hole pretty well toward the top. And then the little perch hole about right in there. And put the top on and look and see where that, how that looks. So anyway, that's where we'll drill at. Okay, now what we're going to do is drill our holes. Got a little V-block here to hold it steady. Anything to keep it from moving around. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I like to drill them in there straight. A lot of times I use the drill press. That's a pretty good. Let me change the drill bit real quick. That's just for a larger birdhouse. Then we drill our little perch hole.
So how deep was that of the hole?
Well, these are not real thin, so that hole, it just, as long as it goes all the way through, doesn't really matter. And then this perch hole, it can go down right before it starts making the turn to go down. So now what we got to do is find this, what do I do with it? What you have to do is go out and find you some little branches and where you can make this. You know, you could put a little dowel in there, you could turn something, a lot of different ways of doing it. But these really look good. When you just come out and put a little forked branch right in the front. Let me get the top. Then once you glue all that together, it really looks kind of cool for a little Christmas ornament. You clean up a little fuzz around there and all that, but I use epoxy to glue the top in. I use epoxy to glue the perch in because it's a loose fitting hole. And on the top, since you have a good tight fit on that 3/4, just use some yellow glue, put it together, and you have it. But yeah, you got to have a little bag of these laying around and some scrap wood and a few minutes, and you can make some really nice Christmas ornaments. But there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. You could use a beading tool. You can paint them. You can burn them. You can do pyrography, you know. But one of the most difficult things is trying to drill a little hole in that point. It's already off the lathe. So what I've done is made a little steel, I guess you'd call it a mandrel or it just got a small taper at the top. You put it right on the top of it, and then you size it with a drill bit that you want to use to put your hanger in. Let me demonstrate that. So you just put that right on the top. It'll keep the drill bit from wandering. And that's perfectly centered. And then what I do is, a lot of people use fish hooks. They use little eyelets. I just take a roll of brass wire and I cut about 2-inch long. I just fold it over. Something like that. Then you can hold it. And I put a little hook in the drill and just tighten it up. Now you have a nice little hanger. Just cut the end of it off. It's pretty small to handle. Then we'll epoxy that in later. But now you have a nice little clean looking hanger that fits in there perfectly. So that's how we do that. And you can use copper. This is a little bit heavier copper, but it works the same. Put it all together. And I'm going to tell you, you can't make enough of these. Everybody that sees them goes, "Oh, I want one." So you got to make all your friends, family, and then if you're lucky, you can sell a few. But it's a nice little project for wood that you probably have laying around the house or in your fire wood pile or whatever. But anyway, enjoy.